Hi, I'm Cristina Smith, creator of the Yoga for the Brain series of profound philosophy and fun puzzle books. They've won lots of awards and they're published by Post Hill Press. And today we are celebrating the release of Inspired Wisdom Word Search, Yoga for the Brain, with interviews with some of the authors of this book. Today we have the extraordinary contributing author, Dr. Paul Rudy, with us, and he's the author of puzzle number 47, Ode to Mother Earth. Welcome, Paul. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Christina. I'm happy to be here. I'm a composer, trained academic. I teach at the UMKC Conservatory. I'm a land artist, a photographer. I do sound meditation, composition for film, lots of different things involving what I call deep listening. And my contribution to the book is actually an aspect of that deep listening that inspired me and inspires me every day out here on my land.
Well, tell me a little bit about the Ode to Mother Earth.
Yeah, so it's sort of a transliteration of the 23rd Psalm, which is one of the things from the Old Testament growing up as a Mennonite preacher's kid that really resonated with me. I think it was more the rhythm that resonated, and I reconnected with that after I recorded a mass in Zagreb, Croatia, a number of years ago. I found myself drawn to this one part of the mass when I was composing in France, and used a part of the recited text that was actually in Croatian, and discovered after I released the CD and everything that the text itself was actually the 23rd Psalm. So there was
Wow.
something about the rhythmic impulse, something about the energy behind those words that transcended language, I would say, and communicated something else. So I've always had a soft spot for that particular verse. And in 2014, I was not in a good way. I didn't actually want to be here on the planet anymore. Life didn't really interest me. And I went out on Halloween night in 2014 looking for something. I don't know exactly what, but I actually now think I was led out there because I started taking photographs that night of orbs, of lots of anomalies that I couldn't necessarily explain. I discovered that my breath was showing up in photographs as these
Wow.
entire galaxies. I mean, it
Ooh.
literally looks like something NASA photographed in deep space.
Wow. Well,
So,
is that one of the photos behind you?
so not exactly. So I have to be completely honest and transparent here. When I started seeing these things show up in the photographs, I started experimenting with them, which is what I do. I encounter something, I try to explain it, I acknowledge the things that I can explain, and I just love the mystery. It's my goal is not to explain everything. My goal is to say, well, is this actually magic or is it not? And I'm always seeking those things that are magical. So after discovering these things on the photos in a sort of natural way, I started playing with it. So this photo behind me is actually the result of me taking a squirt bottle outside and misting and then snapping a photograph of it. So I really started playing with it in a lot of different ways to connect with things that we don't normally perceive, maybe even can't normally perceive. And I think that's one of the things the photographs bring out in particular, are these mysterious parts of our existence that we kind of know are there as spiritual and emotional and empathic beings, but we don't really get to encounter directly. And I've just had so much fun playing with them and seeing if I can create them, if I can make things happen that are mysterious and that are only partly explained by what I think I know is happening. And I love that intersection between, I guess you could say, between science and spirituality, right? Like, um, scientists are as inspired as artists, and it's those little intuitions that their daily grind um, spontaneously combust in our brains and our spirits and our cells and our energy field. It's, you know, it's impossible to define where it is, what it is, where it comes from, but those are the things that our practice results in. Is it's like, oh, here's something I haven't encountered before, so what if I go fully into that and explore it and try to understand it in order to go deeper into life, deeper into myself, deeper into my understanding.
Well, that sounds like a huge puzzle.
It is. Life is a puzzle, and yeah, we were talking ahead of time, and I realized I was really thinking of puzzles in a very narrow way, but every aspect of my life is a puzzle. I build stone sculptures now, and that's a puzzle. It's like, here are the stone. The first one I built for someone else, I had this pile of stones, and we were literally ready to send them up, and I'm like, okay, stones, this is not, you guys aren't going to make the design I came up with in my head. So you're going to have to tell me how this is going to happen. And I literally laid down on the stone, to me, that represented the feminine polarity of energy. And I said, hey, show me how this is going to work, because my brain can't figure it out. And bam, I just got this, like, the design just literally appeared in my head. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, that's how these stones are going to go together. And it was like, of course, there's no other way they could go together. But
Perfect.
my own predetermined design was getting in the way of what the actual possibility and potential was. So, and that is definitely a puzzle.
Well, and we talk about inspiration and kind of how to get it and how best to access it. And one thing that we talk about a little bit in the book is that inspiration favors a prepared mind, which means being open to what comes into it is being prepared. And that takes a lot of practice through your daily
Yeah.
life. You could do a puzzle in the book to start preparing the space for it. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways it can work. And could you tell us a little bit about your land? Where is it located? How much acreage do you have? And show us some of the fun things that you've done with it.
Yeah, sure. I'm in northeast Kansas, north of Lawrence, Kansas, on 70 acres. And let me share my screen here. This is an image of. Let me know when you can see it there. This is an aerial image I took with my drone last weekend,
We're
actually.
there.
And it's about, I'm about 400 feet up. That's as far as my drone would go. I'm sitting down here in the middle of the spider web. This is, you can barely see my blue shirt there,
Oh,
my
there you are. I
shadow.
see you. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I used to call this the dancing lady dragonfly labyrinth. The dancing lady has since gone away. It was replaced by the spider web this summer. So this is the dragonfly's body, and I've actually added 4 legs on this side so that it's half dragonfly, half spider. I put a labyrinth in here in 2016. The spider web came about this fall. I was meditating on the full moon in September, and I thought the dancing lady dragonfly was done. It's like, this is my art piece on my prairie, and it's done. And the full moon, and I asked the full moon in September, uh, is there anything you need? Is there anything you want? And of course, when I ask that, I rarely get the answer no. And this spider, it was like, I want a gigantic spider web up there on the west wing of the dragonfly. And this time it wasn't just, here's what I want. How to actually make the design just was there with it. It was like a universal communication, I call it. Like, it's how animals communicate. It's not words, it's not images, it's this fully formed concept that just appears, that I understand emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, spiritually. I understand in my energy field, I understand it in my cells. It was this beautiful universal communication. And so the spider web, whereas the other part of it took like years, the spider web literally 2 afternoons in 1 week.
Wow. How'd you do it?
Well, it's mowed grass for the most
Okay.
part. I've got a few standing stones in there, and I'm starting to line the paths in the labyrinth with stones from the property. That's just kind of a slow process, but I really can't wait till spring because those mowed paths will green up first. They'll be
Ooh.
green in this sea of brown, and when we burn, sometimes in the spring, it'll be black with these green, and all the lines will be green. So that's actually why I bought a drone so I could document the various stages and phases of color on this thing. So
Wow, that's beautiful. It looks like on the right we have the wing of some divine or other dimensional creature. I mean, that's
yeah,
incredibly beautiful, an angel or a bird or a
yeah,
whatever.
all of the above.
And so on the left, I see something over there. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was a new space that I hadn't planned on either. But last April or last March and April, I kept getting these invitations to make a moon temple. I had moved a big stone over here, and I laid it out as a tablet, and I used to go up there and lay on it and meditate in the full moon. And then I started getting visions of enclosures. So there's a wood enclosure. There's and outside of the wood. So that's kind of a feminine aspect because wood is more ephemeral than stone. And then there's a series of guardian stones protecting the whole thing. And once I got the enclosure built, I was moving that big tablet in the middle because it wasn't quite centered, and 2 feet of it broke off, and I was like, wait, what? What just happened? So I sat with it for a while and ended up finding another heart stone. It's a stone with a perfect kind of heart shape that's, I don't know, at least a 2,000-pound stone
Oh my.
that I moved into the center. A couple of women actually helped me orient it properly. I had it oriented 90 degrees off axis from what it really needs to be, and they really helped me see that it really needs to be facing east and west. The arrow point faces east, and the heart faces west, and so all of these things lined up. And here's one of my helpers.
Ooh, who's that?
This is Mysis.
Ah, hi, Mysis.
Isis. She's basically my Egyptian goddess. She's Isis with an M in front of it because, well, I found a dead mouse this morning that she found last night. So
Well, good.
thanks for coming.
So where's your house here on this image? Where do you
Um,
situate yourself?
I'm to the north through the woods, so I've got about 30 acres of prairie and maybe 40 acres of trees. So you have to walk through the woods. I built a pathway through there. I'm trying to make it accessible. I mean, it's never going to be super easily accessible because you have to walk a ways to get to this temple, but um, I'm trying to make it a little more accessible for people to walk up there and enjoy the space. Um, Trying to see if there's some other images that might. Well, here's what I call the Sun Temple. This is by my house. This is 42 standing stones in a circle around a fire pit. So I've got like 4 temples on the space now. I've got a sun temple, this one, the moon temple that I talked about. I've got the first space that I nurtured is the feminine spiral in the woods. It's where 2 creeks come together. It's literally like the vagina of the property, and I did a lot of my own healing in that space around masculine and feminine balance. And then of course the dragonfly spider temple now up on the prairie. So lots of stuff going on here. It continually changes, and I don't know why I thought it wouldn't be that way, because the earth is constantly changing, and it's never the same. The light is never the same. The shadows are never the same. And so it's just a beautiful thing to play with and explore and sometimes puzzle about.
Well, great, Paul. Thanks. Let's come out of screen share so we can wrap it up here. And I want to just thank you so much for being such an earth guardian and for doing so much for our earth and teaching and inspiring so many people. And thank you for contributing to Inspired Wisdom Word Search Yoga for the Brain, which you can pick up on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com, in bookstores everywhere. Thanks so much, Paul Rudy. We really appreciate all you do.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be a part of.